Welcome back to your latest industry recap. Air Canada is beefing up its schedule towards Europe. Boeing denies fresh problems to its 737 MAX, and big news at Lufthansa beginning there. The airline has confirmed the shift of some Airbus A350s as part of network optimization efforts. The German flag carrier says passengers can fly from Frankfurt now using the state-of-the-art A350-900. The aircraft will be deployed from Frankfurt to several international destinations for the very first time. 4 units have already been moved to the popular flag carrier's hub since the beginning of the summer flight schedule. Lufthansa also goes on to confirm that while yes, 4 aircraft have already been deployed from Frankfurt since the beginning of the summer schedule, which commenced at the end of March, that number is going to grow. 2 more A350s will be added in May and July respectively. These aircraft have been in service to Seoul and Shanghai since March 30. Meanwhile, thanks to the deployment of the A350s, Lufthansa says that Denver will follow from May 1 and then Seattle from July 1 as well. This deployment of the A350 to Frankfurt represents a temporary decision by the German flag carrier as it continues to try and mitigate challenges driven by the many aircraft delivery delays imposed on its business. Why are they moving some A350s? Well, the adjustment of the international network out of Frankfurt is again to manage those delivery delays that have hampered the German carrier's fleet renewal efforts, really focusing in on your next generation planes. Under current forecasting, Lufthansa expects to take delivery of 61 new planes in the next 36 months. This is part of the largest fleet renewal efforts undertaken in their company's history, and while I strictly focus on the German carrier, this is Lufthansa group-wide. Based on those latest estimates that will see 61 new planes, well, the deliveries would likely mean that a new plane will be added to its fleet every 2 weeks, so therefore this represents a really crucial period in fleet retirement and growth efforts. However, to say that the renewal has been smooth sailing would be the furthest thing from the truth. Lufthansa has been very outspoken about the impact it has faced because of these delivery delays across not just Airbus but also Boeing produced planes. I've covered it here at quite a length, but if you're not too familiar, well, they've faced financial and operational impact, and it's been quite colossal. Sometimes they've felt with no end in sight. However, supply chains are finally steadily improving, and Lufthansa is now in a better position than it was 18 months ago. The need to redeploy aircraft such as the A350, retain older, less efficient planes, and adjust its network have all been decisions undertaken for the greater good of the customer base, and to try and maintain a robust network, which has its challenges. Ultimately, all these decisions I mentioned and many others do have a negative financial impact, so therefore Lufthansa is very much ready to actually move forward with renewal plans and into firmly a new era, where those more efficient planes will be able to serve the network without delays in acquisition. Over to Air Canada, who are beefing up their schedule to Europe as they plan to launch service between Montreal and Edinburgh for the first time. The new route will be operated by the 737 MAX and will see non-stop connectivity between Montreal and Edinburgh from June 26. The route, however, will be on a seasonal basis only until September 7. AC936-937 is now the designated flight number for this service. Departures from Montreal will occur on Mondays, Thursdays and Saturdays at 9:50 p.m. local time, with a next day arrival into Edinburgh. Air Canada says it's very excited to add these flights, the only non-stop ones available to customers seeking to fly between the popular cities. The Montreal originating service will be able to complement the existing seasonal services also offered from Toronto Pearson. However, this is not the only change the flag carrier will be making to its schedule towards Europe. Edinburgh seasonal flights are just one of the many opportunities it sense it can pounce on for the next few months. 3 new flights will be added from Toronto Pearson to Paris Charles de Gaulle. These new flights, which will be departing on Wednesdays, Fridays and Saturdays, will certainly be beefing up the schedule tenfold. Moreover, with 10 weekly flights from Toronto, well, these will complement the 14 already existing from Montreal, so it really signifies the importance that we already know exists between the Canadian and French markets. Over to Athens, the city in Greece will see 2 additional flights per week from Toronto, with departures scheduled on Tuesdays and Fridays. Additionally, these flights have been extended on a seasonal basis until October. The new flights will provide a well-rounded 10 weekly flights between Toronto and Athens, and 10 weekly flights between Montreal and Athens. Lastly, Air Canada has committed to offering up to 4 more weekly flights on a seasonal basis. As a result, there will now be 12 12 more weekly flights from Toronto and 9 from Montreal. These flights, for clarification, will be to Rome in Italy. Over to the final story, where following its string of quality-related concerns, Boeing has been persistently focused in on by the media, regulators and the general public. However, now the plane maker has been forced to deny reporting that production rates had fallen again amid further fitting delays. The reliable Air Current reported that the 737 MAX's output had been as high as 38 units in February, but dropped to 31 units more recently, according to the report. The trade publication stated that the drop in production stemmed from wing system installation processes, which have been plaguing the plane maker across the last couple of months, seemingly with each passing week, while these crucial fittings have been running behind schedule, and similarly to aircraft delivery delays, they've been ballooning out of control to a point where Boeing is just not able to manage the delays it's seeing. If true, this latest woe would have dealt a blow to Boeing's ongoing bid to see oversight ease and/or generalized approval be received to increase output rates to prove that it has truly turned the corner and to position its finances in a more positive manner. Following this reporting, a spokesperson at Boeing confirmed production rates had not reduced. Moreover, they confirmed it was still attempting to grow its production rates with internal realizations, meaning that specific targets will likely not be met on time. Boeing finds itself really on thin ice with almost everything it does. After so many years of turbulence, it's imperative that it gets the rebuild it's currently undertaking done right, which includes a very strong focus on the quality of planes it produces for a prolonged period rather than just a handful of months. Boeing has been facing caps on production for its 737 MAX jet, following a door blowout incident in January last year. This incident went on to force the Federal Aviation Administration to basically increase their oversight into Boeing to try and limit the continued quality slips that were occurring. Throughout 2024, Boeing made significant investments in areas of its business to begin the framework of a turnaround. This turnaround is fundamental to the long-term success of the company, program, and customer relationships. Unfortunately, production rates have been capped, and we've also seen several drops in production that have occurred across the last 12 months. This for a varying degree of reasons, whether it be strike action, fresh problems, or something else, and Boeing's financials have taken a hit. While oversight remains heavy, Boeing remains committed to focusing on developing supply chains and rebuilding them so it can confidently produce MAX jets, not just at the rate it would ideally intend to, but also to maintain the highest quality standards possible. Goals exist, such as growing monthly output to 42 and then even up to 50, especially if Boeing wants to stand any chance of working through the MAX backlog. That will be a very difficult task to achieve and will certainly not come overnight. It is a watch this space type of view. Keen to hear your take down below in the comments on any of the topics covered today. Thanks for watching, take care, do be safe, and I'll see you tomorrow for your next industry recap.
And we'll fly.